Back in April, when Michael Cohen's home and offices were raided by the FBI, it's a big story, Adam Davidson wrote this piece in The New Yorker titled "Michael Cohen and the End Stage of the Trump Presidency." And his argument was that the president's business dealings are so shady, they cannot possibly withstand sustained examination by prosecutors, and that an examination of the Trump organization could end up implicating Trump's family along with his business associates. Now, in light of last week's plea deal, and as we head towards Michael Cohen's sentencing next week, Adam Davidson's prediction seems more and more prescient. And Davidson staff writer at The New Yorker joins me now. You wrote that. You got a lot of pushback. People are like, we've about the end forever. It's one of these things where it's like the jar lid, you know, you try it, at some point it pops off. Where are we now?
I think that where we are now is where we shifted to that week when they raided Cohen's office. Basically, before that, it was still possible to imagine this would be a fairly limited examination of Trump's campaign and its specific relationships with the Russian government, and that it would not look at financial matters at all. If you remember, that was what Trump's legal team was arguing. There was actually academics and others saying, yes, Mueller should stay only on this one narrow question, and it should only be Mueller looking into it. And what we learned that week, back in April, when Cohen's office was first raided, is that, no, this is going to be a multi-pronged investigation. First of all, it's not just going to be Mueller. It's going to also be the Southern District of New York, and then presumably, and then we learned, in fact, New York Attorney General and maybe other
and the state taxation body.
The state taxation body.
There's four entities, just so people are clear, that the sentencing memo filed by Cohen's attorneys Friday night say there are four entities he cooperated with: Southern District, Mueller, the state AG, and the state taxation authority.
Yes, exactly. And then, and that Trump's businesses and the businesses of people close to Trump are now fair game and part of this investigation. And I think what that opens, so we spend a lot of time appropriately talking about impeachment, talking about things in Washington, centered in Washington. But what I have to imagine Trump's greatest fears are around losing money, losing his wealth. He now has a very serious possibility of having to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in back taxes to New York State. His son, Don Jr., has told people reportedly that that he expects to be indicted. I'm of the view, based on other reporting I've done and some of my colleagues have done, that Ivanka is at risk of prosecution. So I think that even if nothing happens in the Mueller report, even if Congress is dead on arrival, they're not going to do anything. I think we now see a massive investigation of Trump's entire world that is going to be painful for him.
And I think what's also interesting is that when you're talking about that sort of red line notion, right? So there's like Russia, and there's a campaign in Russia, and then there's some finances over here, and it's a red line, or it's untoward, or it's not fair really to go looking at those things. To me, the significance of the Cohen plea last week is the two are the same.
They are the same.
Which is to say, the financial interest in a Russian deal seems to be clearly part of the campaign to compromise him.
Absolutely.
In effectuation of what appears to be a clear conspiracy on the part of the Russian government.
If you talk to prosecutors, they will tell you it's really hard to do white-collar crime at all, and it's especially hard to do white-collar crime that crosses borders. That's because...
I'm going to stop you right there just so that people know what they're looking at. This is the President of the United States in a motorcade arriving at the Capitol to observe George H.W. Bush lying in state. He there in the Capitol Rotunda, the president departing from the White House. There, we will keep our eyes on that.
Great. So these are really hard cases to prosecute because you need documentary evidence, you need insiders ratting out the bosses. It's very hard to do that. But when your partner is a government that wants to influence you and makes clear to you in a variety of ways we can destroy you by leaking these documents or providing these documents, it becomes a very different case. He's extremely exposed.
This is a great point that you made back. You said you talked about a theory of Trump compromise. And in my head, I think because we've been introduced to the notorious Ritz-Carlton tape is the idea that there's like this one thing they can expose and they hold it over you and they wave it in your face. And your point in that article was no, what they do is they draw you into being enmeshed in a web of illicit interactions that you know that they know about.
Absolutely. And this is, we know well, this is well documented, well studied throughout the former Soviet Union, which is there. is not really a legal way to become a billionaire or to do major real estate development.
Right.
Someone asked me this week, is there a chance that Trump Tower Moscow was part of a money laundering scheme? And I said, I would think most people who know about it would say, by definition, a luxury real estate development in Moscow is part of a money laundering scheme. They bring you in, but they make very clear, and they have a lot of tools to do it, that you can't get out of line. We see it in extreme with Khodorkovsky and other people who go against Putin and are suddenly thrown in jail on charges that clearly nearly every Russian oligarch is guilty of, but only those who go against him are arrested. They know how to do it, and he's deep in that system.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing that I keep thinking about. This is dangling over everyone's head. And not just that we know that Peskov and the Kremlin and Putin know that they're lying to the public the whole time.
Absolutely.
That on itself,
yes,
that they
exactly.
can blow the whistle on that whenever they want to.
Yeah, Trump knows that Russia is reaching out saying, hey, we have these emails. And then he's saying, they don't have those emails. I'm not doing business with Russia. So I'd say at a bare minimum, to me, we have reached the point where it is no longer responsible to talk about this as, who knows, maybe we'll find something. I feel strongly we are at the place where we know there's extreme wrongdoing, extreme problems, and it's just a matter of the breadth of it and what the reaction will be.
Final question for you. You wrote a great piece, investigation into a Trump real estate project in Azerbaijan, where you had pretty good evidence on its face that they had violated the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. What do you make of the story that Sater and Cohen were prepared to offer Vladimir Putin a $50 million penthouse in Trump Tower Moscow?
It is pretty unbelievable that
I mean, that's a violation on its face.
Yes. Yes. I mean, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act is actually a strange law. It makes it illegal in America to do something that might be normal in another country, which is bribing a foreign official. But yes, you are not allowed, if you're a business that does business in America, to give things of value. And by the way, people have been convicted for, like, giving a flight or giving, like, a nice pen. So a $50 million apartment is beyond the pale. Yes.
Adam Davidson of The New Yorker, thank you very much.
Thank you.